James, do we have Pine Tree back on again? Or?
Yeah, we're pulling Pine Tree up right now.
Okay, great.
Pine Tree, welcome to the show. Turn down your speakers, please.
It's right down. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yes, beautifully this time. Excellent.
Oh, thank you so much. I was having some technical issues, but I'm so glad I'm back on. Wonderful show tonight, guys. Now, listen, here is a point I wanted to bring up. Something that's happening in university campuses. I mean, you have the rape culture going on, but I'm just wondering, the way feminists seem to work is that they go to these different groups and they spread rape hysteria, right? And I'm wondering, is it possible to legally challenge them can you convict somebody of spreading rape hysteria? Like, is that possible to do?
Well, I guess it's possible to sue for libel or libelous slander, and if they use your name in doing so, that would be the closest thing I would think, which might be just as effective depending on the circumstances.
I can answer this somewhat with a case and then just my own reasoning. At, I believe it was the University of Maryland, they hosted for many years, and I think I'm maybe correct in this, I think I am, that the University of Maryland is home to what is called the Clothesline Project. And I actually like the basic idea of this project. This is actually one feminist program that I would support, although not to the extent that they used it. But for years at the University of Maryland, they would stretch out these clotheslines, and then they would hang T-shirts on them, and then alleged victims of sexual assault would be able to write, empowering, inspiring messages for people to come to terms with what they experienced. And it was designed initially to be an uplifting experience, an empowering experience. And in that sense, I'm actually very much supportive of this particular type of event because of that. But it, as many feminist events do, it became perverted into something quite different, where a lot of students would write on the names of these shirts and just the names of the young men that they accused, and they would hang them up in a public space where everyone would walk by and see them, and there was no sense of accountability, no kind of for any of the accusations that were made, and this went on for 17 years, and it was only after the university was threatened with a lawsuit, because this is actually where some of the lines of free speech become murky. They, in a sense, so long as they were using university, working through an official university channel, the university was considered effectively a publisher in legal terms. So the university had to kind of back down a little bit and have these students actually, if they're going to write the names of people, they could only write the first name of the people they are accusing, not the first and last name.
Right.
Of course, a lot of young men were, had the fingers pointed at them regardless.
Oh, Lord help you if you were, Lord help you if your name was Ugi Dalbalabala.
Yeah, right.
If you were if you were an international student, but in certain circumstances, if they write it and if they single a person out, and if you have good evidence that that the accusation is false, you might be able to pursue a libel or slander charge. It is my understanding that those charges tend to be difficult to win in the legal realm. Because you have to prove malicious intent, and that's the part that's very difficult to prove.
Well, a recent example which occurred, you probably know, in Kingston, we have that girl, Daniel Tremont or something, who said she was attacked by someone who she thought was a men rights activist
in Canada.
In Canada, and it was done right before the Professor Janice's Flamingos event, and this was, now we don't have proof of it, but a lot of us are of the strong opinion that this was intentionally set to create a kind of hysteria, anti-male hysteria on the campus, right? Now,
sorry.
Now this is happening on every campus every day. I mean, this is a big issue. I mean, Daniel Tremont is the one who got some publicity, but this kind of anti-male hysteria is occurring on a daily basis, and I'm just wondering, is there? I mean, it's even bigger than the actual rape assault, that's going on, and I'm wondering, can this be legally challenged? Like this girl, Daniel Tremont, can we legally go after her for what she's done?
Well, I mean, as far as Canada goes, I must say that I'm actually not an expert on Canadian law. I know that I think one of the worst offenders was in fact the newspaper that I forget the exact name of the newspaper, but they had some very slimy headlines where they showed a picture of the alleged victim and then said feminist attacked right after criticizing men's rights group or whatnot, and it was so obvious that they were implicating the I believe the Canadian Association for Equality, which actually is more of a neutral organization that happens to be focusing on men's issues now. That's kind of beside the point, but anyway, that's in Canada, and I just don't know. I think that case was just so murky. As far as
I mean, from a legal point of view, it's going to be incredibly difficult to go, do something. But it is still something that, needs to be figured out. It's a very gray area, But, it's like going in a boxing match and, the other boxer that you're boxing with keeps punching you below the belt. And no one can see it, and you have to prove, how to stop this from happening. You know what I mean?
I agree that it's lame, and the thing is, we're getting into issues of free speech, and one thing that I want to steer clear from is getting on the wrong side of the Foundation for Individual Rights and Education, and I say that not just for practical reasons, but I mean for actual, idealistic free speech reasons. And it sucks. It does suck when the fact is that, they dominate the conversation and, they routinely use that speech in very dishonest and sometimes, either directly or indirectly in defamatory ways. That's part of, I think, I hate to say it, but I really do think, it's part of, the way to oppose bad speech, unless it's actually, libelous speech or slanderous speech, the way to oppose bad speech is better speech, not through, opposing speech. And that's definitely what we're doing online right now and as we make our inroads into universities. And it's going to suck. And it's going to keep on sucking for years because the situation is lame, but eventually I think that but the thing is that when people start trying to suppress speech, that tends to get a lot of people who are on the fence against them, and right now feminists really are holding the low ground in that area. So I think that in the long run. Yeah, I think that in the long run, it serves us far better to differentiate ourselves in a very positive way by saying, you guys are gonna, you guys can keep that low ground, but we're gonna keep this high ground, and then just use our online platforms to just blow their public image out of the water.
But it's exposure, I think, is the word that maybe we're looking for. These people abhor illumination, they abhor transparency, they abhor exposure. They know what they're doing. These people are not, sure, most of them are ideologues, but they know in their heart of hearts what's going on. They know the gig, and they know that if they get exposed for what they are, the whole thing is up. And that's really, and you're right, Jonathan, just by keeping the high ground, and just by being honest and saying, look, these are facts, and exposing these facts, and the more and more they try to censor people who oppose what they think, the more and more the average person, like you said, the people sitting on the fence are just going to say, hey, what's up with this? That's not right. Now I know it's up, because people aren't stupid. They're not.
Right. and at the same time, I must advise, everyone who goes into higher education and wants to get into these issues, you have to be prepared.
Yeah.
If you want to start talking about some serious stuff like sexual misconduct policies and rape hysteria, you better start carrying a recording device around
Absolutely.
with you. And if you ever get into any kind of conversation with anyone, especially a feminist, you'd better record that conversation. That's just my, and for your own safety, because you know what, she's gonna claim. Well, I'm not going to say that this is definitely going to happen, but the power is in her favor, where she can very easily say, "Oh well, I felt intimidated. I felt harassed."
Over. Your career is over.
And then recording devices are your sword and shield. It's in higher education. Use them. I have a web page dedicated exclusively to that at A Voice for Male Students under the help and protection menu at the top.
Unfortunately, we also have to understand that not every state's a two-party state. A one-party state, and there have already been people who have been brought up on wiretapping charges for bringing up for bringing up audio or video evidence in their own defense concerning a crime, but because they didn't have the other party's approval, they fine, we'll just drop those charges.
You just simply couldn't use that evidence in court. Now you can get charged for it.
Right. Now at this point, you're being charged with wiretapping.
Again,
which is sometimes
because while you may not be able to show that in court, you can hand it over to, let's say, A Voice for Men, and we will play it. We'll put it up.
But no, and I think James does raise a very important point. There was a case of a young schoolboy who recorded abuse by a teacher or an administrator, I forget which. I covered it on my website. I could look it up if anyone's interested. But the case was that, yes, the boy recorded without the consent of another of the teachers or the faculty or administration that he was recording, and then use that to say, look, hey, these guys are doing something very bad. And then, yes, he was slapped with a lawsuit and so it was in Pennsylvania, where many states, I believe it's 2/3 of states are what we call one-party consent states, where you only need the consent of one party in the conversation, which can be yourself, if you want to record something. Now that's audio recording, and that is face-to-face conversations. Now recording laws are by nature kind of murky, so it's not always clear-cut. And I have consulted with attorneys who were very hesitant to inform me about recording laws. For example, something may be perfectly legal to record, but it's not always perfectly legal to distribute it, and that varies by state. But one of the surest, one of the things that are the most legal in the vast majority of states is recording a conversation in a public place. If you are in a public place where there is no reasonable expectation of privacy, like you're walking on the way to class, or you're in like the forum or the entryway of a building, then in those cases, that's considered a public place, and you really would have more of an expectation of privacy. So to James's point, I think that people should be wary. They should be careful. I've included a guide on my website to recording laws by state. It's the same guide that reporters use for reporting things in the press, and so you can download it. I definitely want to make sure people are well armed with with the proper equipment and knowledge, but that should never take the place of an attorney. And just to be real with you, there is almost always some risk whenever you're trying to challenge the establishment, whether it is with recordings or anything else. Even if it's perfectly legal, a university could always try and slap something frivolous on you, and they have the deep pockets to try and railroad you if they want to. So be advised, everyone, that that there are always risks. And I don't want to lie to anyone or sell someone some kind of false hope or get them into a dangerous situation. I want them to have their eyes wide open. So thank you, James, for that important point. And I hope that helps.
Yeah, no problem. If you can only imagine the absolute mess guys would find themselves in a two-party state. with that sort of thing. And not to mention, I mean, what if we take a look at the way they're starting to bring up wiretapping charges now? If you're in your own dorm room, do guests have an expectation of privacy?
I'm not sure if, I mean, dorm rooms would, I think, be treated as, in the same sense as a private domicile. And as I understand it, I mean, in a sense, we're kind of getting beyond, recording laws will change state by state. In some states, it may be that if you're in a private domicile, which could be considered, a mobile home or a dorm room or your own, home, your residence, that, you can record at will, but, and that's contradicted by numerous other things, like in other states, you're not allowed to record certain sexual things without the other party's consent. Like in my state of Texas, you can't record sex between two people, you yourself and another person, and especially other people, if they do not consent to that recording. So, I mean, that is something to be aware of. So,
there we go.
Guys, I'm taking out. Thank you very much for a great show, and look forward to seeing you guys next week. Take care, right?
Great.
All right, take care.
Okay.
Thanks for calling in.
Okay.
Fine, Trey. Always a pleasure having you on. James, do you have any more callers?
No, that's it for our callers, and we've got about 10 minutes before the end of the show.
Oh, okay. Well,
get closer to the mic if you could, Robert.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry. Let me fix this. Is that better?
Much better.
Yeah. Okay.
Much
Good. Our chat room is working again. So if people want to go there, and Jonathan, can you go ahead and give me the link to your site, and specifically, if you could, to the page that has the list of state laws, the list of single party and second party
definitely.
state.
Yeah, in that chat room, I'll definitely do that.
Okay, yeah. Actually, let me see if I can get it up here. Yeah, we just got word. I got word from Lucian about 20 minutes ago that we were good to go as far as the chat concerned. I didn't. I definitely put the goodies in there.
All right, I just posted it on the chat room for you guys.
Okay, great. Okay, wonderful. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Great. Alrighty. So you're definitely coming to the conference. Are you?
Oh, most certainly.
What do you want? What do you hope to accomplish here? Just because I want to, since I have you on, what are you hoping to get from the conference?
I definitely want to have some good conversations, if I can, with Dr. Warren Farrell, Dr. Miles Groth, and definitely with you, you two, and with Paul, because I have definitely spoken to you very much, but I have not, I've not met with you face to face. And so that's one thing, definitely the camaraderie and just the companionship and the the sort of brothers in arms type of feeling that you would get from people on a shared mission, but also in the sense that I definitely hear what people have to say. I definitely want to see if there's anything that I can learn. I'm sure there'll be plenty I can learn. Some new ways to maybe approach what I'm doing based upon what other people are doing. And maybe get some good footage, and that's if there's a protest by feminists or something, I'll definitely have to get some good recordings on that.
Oh yeah.
So
we'll see about that.
Yeah.
Seriously, you talk about meeting people. I have yet to meet anybody.
Really?
Yeah, seriously, I haven't met Paul, I haven't met James, I haven't met anybody face to face. The only MRA type person that I've actually met in person face to face was, if you can call him that, was Dr. Baskerville just a couple months ago. He's the only guy that was, you can honestly say, has been in the movement that I've actually talked to and spoken to.
And
that was different.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, yeah. And he's really more of a father's rights type thing. I don't know if he buys into the whole perspective on like what Warren Farrell has laid out in the middle.
No, he doesn't. Actually, if you definitely try to watch that interview, he's definitely a tradcon. Like for real.
That's what I thought.
And I tried to kind of, but I let him be himself, and I respect people. If you're a tradcon, fine, then that's what you are. But I especially, I kind of tried to pull it out of him. How he felt about it, the idea of the real reason we have fatherless children running around is the fact that we have this huge discrepancy between men and women when it comes to reproductive rights and responsibilities. And it wasn't the sexual revolution, and it's not all these irresponsible men that are doing this. It's all these women who have unilateral control over whether or not they have a baby. Right. They're the ones that have this incredible power and no responsibility, and men take responsibility for their decisions. And he had a hard time wrapping his head around that because he's a fundamentalist Christian guy, and that's all there is to it. And that's the way he is, but he's still very intelligent man. It was really neat talking to him.
Yeah, he went to a Catholic university, I believe. Was it Patrick? Not Patrick Howard University, or maybe
he is teaching at Patrick Henry. He's teaching at
Patrick Henry.
That is actually a very interesting story on that. That's a very new school. It's a very, very fundamentalist Christian school. Mostly people who were homeschooled go there, and they do not take Title IX money, so they are not. They do not have to comply with Title IX standards, and they've come under very, very serious criticism because of this. And there was a rape case that happened that was never substantiated, but supposedly there was some kind of accusation, and this one publication is whole spread on this. And the school came back and said, "Wait a minute." She accused the school of treating her dismissively and all those other things, terrible things, really. And the school came back and said, "No, we did not treat her that way. We took this very seriously as we could for an incident that happened 10 miles away from campus." Was someone that we don't even know who this person is. We do know that she was with a male student at the time, but we don't know what happened because she was really drunk, and we didn't find any proof of this. But we did not treat her with any disrespect at all. Of course, she came with a serious accusation, and it really made her look. It made the reporter who wrote the piece on her look stupid because it was clearly a total attack on the school. And there's a lot of conjecture out there that story was contrived. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show, and I've been wanting to do this topic for a few weeks now, because I've just seen this uptick in we're starting to see more and more of these cases that never would have made public, never would have made the Metro section of a newspaper until now, because I think we're having an impact on what's happening with due process in higher education. And when I say we, I certainly don't mean a Voice for Men in particular, singularly. You were talking about the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education. Those people really, really have made a huge difference, I think.
Definitely.
They've really brought it out into the forefront. They've forced legislators, and many important media outlets to look at what's happening. And I think they've just done a great job.
Yeah, really definitely.
A great example of people taking the high ground, I think, like as you were saying before. Yeah. So. Anyway, James, is that it for tonight? Are we out of time?
That's it. That's it, okay. Guys.
Great show. Yeah, wonderful. Jonathan, thanks a lot for calling in, and let's definitely keep in touch. And I'm sure I'll see you next month. Yeah. Looking forward to it. Really, really looking forward to the whole thing. It's going to be great.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much.
Sure. Thanks to everybody who called in. And definitely looking forward to seeing many of you in Detroit at the end of June. James, do we have any more final advice for our listeners?
We sure do. Take the red pill.